Okay, gents, let's now react to another big defeat for Brazil. They lost against Argentina in the Maracana. We're going to focus on the expectations for the Brazilian national team, but this is a historic defeat for them. This is the first time they've ever lost a home game in World Cup qualifying. Just think about that. That's absolutely crazy. And obviously, their arch rivals, Argentina, have delivered it. There were ugly scenes before the game. There was a delay to kick off as some of the Argentina and Brazil fans were separated in the stands. The police were getting involved, and Messi and others were trying to calm the situation down. They did that. But on the pitch, Otamendi's goal scored was the winner. And Messi, of course, led Argentina to another historic win. Nick, when we look at these two teams, obviously we know how good they are individually. But to me, it seems at least Argentina have found a way to create a team and an environment around Messi and their star attacking players to get the job done. Where Brazil, yes, they had a lot of injuries in this camp in particular, but they're really struggling, right, with that. I mean, there's 3 defeats on the spin for them. No Neymar. Is this just a blip, or are we a bit concerned about which direction Brazil is heading in, given the quality of the players they have?
Relative blip is how I would put it.
Okay.
Brazil is never going to be bad. Never. Zoom me 200 years into the future if they're still playing soccer, and I would expect Brazil to be halfway decent. They're in a position right now. First of all, I think this was a matchup problem. In particular, this game, Argentina can play you however the heck they want to. You want to go out and try and play a 4-3 game, Argentina's going to score 5 goals. You want to play a 1-0, they're going to pick you apart until they find that entry point while not allowing a lot at the back. And Otamendi is, as you love to say, rolled back the years. I don't know that the years have ever advanced on him. He's just kind of the same player. He's kind of adapted that wisdom. However, going to Brazil, as you've mentioned, Joe, can you say for sure it was a blip when they're sitting there with 7 points through 6 games? And it has been one thing after another. And it's a little bit like, I don't know, the way we talk about a Manchester United. Well, surely next game out, everything's going to be fine. Oh, they'll wake up. Now it's time for them to wake up. It's getting to that point. And granted, we have until March now, but you would not be surprised if in March they're still stumbling a little bit.
I mean, Andy, I'm looking at their record for the World Cup over the last 15, 20 years. I mean, they've had 4 quarterfinal finishes, and then they had the 4th place finish on home soil in 2014. And actually think about the quality of players they've had over that time. That's like underachievement. I know before that they were on an incredible run, but it's just, I feel like maybe over the years, like Nick mentioned there, oh, it's Brazil, they'll figure it out. Next time they'll be better next time. And yeah, I wouldn't say I'm concerned, especially with the expanded number of teams that qualifies from South American qualifying for the next World Cup. So they're going to be there in the US. Of course, they're going to figure it out. But it's a bit of a mess, isn't it, with the managerial situation? Yeah. There's reports Carlo Ancelotti might come in, and he's their main target whenever he's done at Real Madrid. But they just seem like in limbo and a little bit of chaos there right now around the Brazilian national team.
Yeah, when would you guys say was the last time that Brazil had a real team, a collective? It's been a collection of a lot of talent for that entire period that you're talking about, Joe, where they've got 4 quarterfinals appearances and then 4th place on home soil. They always have the flair, they have the flash, they get the headlines, and everybody picks Brazil leading up to a World Cup, and then the reality sets in a little bit throughout the group stage that, all right, there's a lot of talent here on this team. It's a lot of fun to watch, but functionally, how are they going to get results when they have to grind games out? And that tends to be their issue. And so I think obviously the Neymar issue is, if there is a system in place for Brazil, it revolves around Neymar. It has since he's been in the team. And with him not there, I think there's a little bit of the identity that is lacking, and they're trying to figure that out. And then you make a coaching change, and that doesn't help to figure things out tactically and how the team's going to function together. And so I think there's just a lot of big names with a lot of big ideas on different pages at the moment. And eventually that talent will get them into the World Cup. I promise you, Brazil will be at the World Cup, but it might be a little bit rough until then. And I think Nick makes the point perfectly. You compare that, you juxtapose that Brazil situation with the team. Just think back to December and the way that Argentina, that team, rallied around Lionel Messi. That was one of the strongest team units that we maybe have ever seen in sports, the way that they were just one solid rock together. And that's the complete opposite of what Brazil are at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just looking back, even their record in Copa America. They've won one of the last 5 of those as well. So it's not, I feel like it's just kind of gone under the radar a little bit. And I really want to see some, I don't know, consistency from them in terms of team selection, some kind of philosophy this summer in the Copa America on US soil. I think that's the next big step for them to prove, hey, we can still hang with Argentina and we can still dominate with these players that we have. But of course, the coaching situation needs to be sorted out. We've got an interim in charge right now. So just really intriguing to see what happens next with Brazil, because like we all said, just incredible talent there. Speaking about incredible talent, obviously Messi, leading Argentina to 5 wins from 6 now in World Cup qualifying. They're just kind of just going along very, very nicely after that World Cup win. His quote after the win as well, just saying that obviously due to the issues before the game and the historic nature of winning in Brazil, and that is one of their best ever results. That's what Messi said in terms of what this team has done. And when you actually think about their progression and what they can become, it's pretty scary, I think, for the rest of the world in these tournaments coming up, because as long as you have him and a solid team unit around him, then you're going to have a very good chance at being the favourites to win pretty much everything. But Nick, there was a kind of a negative for Argentina after this game. Scaloni said, maybe I'm not the man to coach Argentina anymore, basically. He said, this job needs a lot of energy. You need to keep winning. And he said he's going to take some time to kind of stop and reflect and see if he is that person. And some of the players have come out, Christian Romero, Tottenham Hotspur centre-half among them, and said we hope and are planning for him to stay. But, we want him to stay as the manager. But that's a little bit concerning, right, if you're an Argentina fan, because you're in this great vein of form and finally figured out how to get Messi in the best situations. And you're winning trophies. And then the manager's like, oh, maybe I'll call it quits here.
Yeah, you have to remember how emotionally charged that atmosphere must have been. The one thing that maybe a detail that slips is in all that fracas before the game. That was in the section where the players' friends and family were sitting. So I imagine that has to weigh on you. You get this historic win, and maybe you're thinking to yourself at that point, again, let's underline what happened there. Brazil had never lost a home World Cup qualifier. Like, Joe, I actually, in writing the recap for the game, was wondering if I had been on like 6 fake news sites. Like, well, you know what? I read it there and I read it there and I read it there and I read it there. And I'm looking at the stats. They haven't lost, but surely that's how historic it was. And when you talk about being at the mountaintop and you're thinking about going to Copa America and you're thinking about your age and you're in demand around Europe, all of those things, maybe at some point you're thinking to yourself, wow, this is a lot and I will never have the status I had. And maybe it just weighs on him. But I also think as good of a job he's done. I mean, look at that lineup. I like to think they'll sort it out with who's ever in charge.
That's very true. They sorted it out against Brazil. Incredible win for Argentina as they are flying and qualifying in South America for the 2026 World Cup. Brazil, not so much. So we'll keep you updated on Pro Soccer Talk, on NBCSports.com, on their managerial search, what's going on. And of course, a lot of these Brazilian players play week in, week out in the Premier League. So we'll keep a really close eye on them and see how they're getting on. But be intriguing to see how they react from a really disappointing international break for Brazil.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.